What's going on, everybody? Welcome into One Jets Live. I'm Caroline Hendershot, sitting alongside Ethan Greenberg. We are going to be breaking down all the news out there on Twitter right now that we've been getting a lot of attention for. But first and foremost, Ethan, we have a familiar face becoming a free agent.
Yeah, I think this is Jets fans have been speculating about this for a long time, and not too long before we became live here. Field Yates was one that tweeted it 35 minutes ago. Veteran wide receiver Cory Davis, who stepped away from football in August, has applied for reinstatement to the NFL. But the Jets are expected to release Davis from the reserved retired list today, although a return to New York on a new contract is in play. Remember, Cory Davis signed with the Jets a couple of years ago on a 3-year deal, I believe. He stepped away from football and training camp. And if you're a Jets fan watching this, I know that you're feeling something because a lot of fans have been clamoring for the return of Cory Davis as a Jet. Now, it's very important, just like Field Yates mentioned, he's going to be released. So he's going to be a free agent once this becomes official. Obviously, we just saw that comment that said, let's go. Hold your horses a little bit.
Easy.
Yeah, easy. But I think that, it's, first of all, it's cool to see Cory Davis wanting to play football again.
Definitely. I think it's exciting that he took the time to step away and is now kind of like, okay, I'm ready to be back. If that offer is with New York, I'm here for it. He was a great addition to the Jets. If it's not, happy for him somewhere else. But I think that's a big thing to watch as the Jets go forward, because wide receiver is still one of those things that they need and is a need of them. So I don't know how that's going to end up. But there's still a lot of free agents left on the board for the Jets to go after.
Right, and I will say with Cory Davis, if it is in New York, it does make sense because the Jets haven't added a receiver yet. And when you take a look at, who's available, who's been moving, the big name to go off the market was Calvin Ridley. That happened yesterday with the Tennessee Titans, which, by the way, we can talk about this later. For me, is that's the team I'm now circling in terms of the draft because they picked 7th overall. The Titans and the Jets, when you look at the mock drafts, a lot of them had either team going receiver or tackle.
Okay.
A lot of people say, well, what happens in free agency, that crystallizes what happens on draft night.
Correct.
And if the Titans, who now have DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, Traylon Burks, maybe they're looking at a tackle. Maybe they're looking at on defense. Maybe they're going to trade out. We don't know. I'm getting ahead of my skis. Yeah, I understand.
You are.
I'm really sorry.
No, that's okay. Okay. You can't help yourself.
I'm excited.
Yeah, you're
but this is what's up in terms of free agents still available.
Okay, let's hit it.
The big names that I don't think we've discussed since EA and I were breaking this down, Mike Williams and Hunter Renfrow, both released from their teams in the AFC West. And Mike Williams is another big-bodied receiver. He's coming off injury. He's a spicy name. There
was some interest with Mike Williams. Wasn't there a report out there that there was some interest with Mike Williams?
Yeah, I think it was Connor Hughes that actually tweeted it, that the Jets had interest when Mike Williams was a free agent, I believe, and then he re-signed with the Chargers. And then he had what was a good 3 games. I think he had 200-plus yards. Someone could help fact-check me there. That'd be great. And then he gets hurt. So for me, it's does Mike Williams make sense? Yeah, it's all going to come down to the money.
Right, of course.
It's all going to come down to the money. And we're not cap specialists, and some people think the cap is a myth. Well, if it is a myth, Mike Williams is a free agent now. So that's food for thought.
Exactly.
And I will say, you take a look at who else is available. Hunter Renfrow is a smaller receiver. He gets open.
Right.
That's
He's had a lot of success with the Raiders.
Brian Baldinger, loved the Baldy's breakdowns. He did one on Hunter Renfrow where it's if you need just someone to get open, that's Hunter Renfrow. Yeah. Not 2 years ago with Derek Carr, he was one of his go-to targets.
Exactly.
So if that appeals to the Jets, we'll see. And again, it's a stacked draft class, so there's no need to press. There's no need to worry. But coming back to the Cory Davis news, Boy Green, he's all over it.
What's
Boy Green's everywhere.
He is. He's always looking.
Yeah. Put this up there. Holy freaking cannoli. Cory Davis, he's back. Give me those Aaron Rodgers, Cory Davis training camp highlights, baby. Paul, again, pump the brakes.
Always.
This is all gas, no brake in One Jets Drive. Pump them a little bit.
we gotta lay on the brakes a little bit.
He's
just
going
temporarily.
To be released.
Just temporarily, yeah. But he's about to be a free agent.
It'll be exciting to see where he ends up. And Johnny Jimenez has a question. Says, with this addition, I'm not quite sure what this addition means. Does this pivot from the draft room for the Jets do we have a trade back scenario now? Thank you. So I'm not quite sure. If you're watching this, can you please comment what you mean by this addition? Because Cory Davis, just for the record, that's not an addition.
Right. He's about to become a free agent. The Jets are releasing him. So he's not on the roster or will not be on the roster. He's about to become a free agent. So take that with a grain of salt.
Right.
But what do
I think about the trade back?
Yeah.
I would say anything's possible. Like,
I don't really see it personally.
Okay.
I think the Jets are at a good spot at 10. If anything, I kind of see a trade up.
Okay.
Here's the thing.
Okay.
GM's above my pay grade.
Who in this scenario is Caroline Hendershot eyeing as like
don't ask me that. Don't ask me that. That's too much above my pay grade.
There is
but I do think there's a scenario where you could trade up to get a tackle or to get a certain wide receiver that you see is a good fit and you don't want them to slide. But I don't see a trade back because I think there's still needs on the board for the Jets.
Well, maybe Joe Douglas is hearing this right now, and he's like, wow, the Titans. I was thinking the same thing. Caroline saying trade up.
We share a brain.
Maybe. Okay, so here's the thing. Do I see a trade back scenario? I think the Jets are in a good spot at 10 because the way that they've shaped up free agency and trade, which, by the way, Morgan Moses now official.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So welcome back to Morgan Moses. So I think that, is it possible? Sure, it's possible.
Anything's possible.
Kevin Garnett? Anything's possible. Anyway, anything. What I was going to say was, in terms of a trade back, like right now, if you do the math, 3 wide receivers, Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, you'd imagine are top 10 picks.
Correct.
Then you're looking at Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May. I think I'm missing somebody here. So that's 3. Now you're looking at 4 tackles. Somebody's going to be there at 10.
Right.
So, and J.J. McCarthy, if you want to put him as a top 10 guy too.
We do.
Like, so to me, that's where I see the trade back. Johnny Jimenez, right on the money here. He actually said it's the Morgan Moses edition and possibly Bakhtiari as in Bach or an other left tackle ad. So here's a debate. I'm glad you said that.
Okay, yeah.
Because right now, if you take a look at the Jets' offensive line, you would have question mark at left tackle.
Correct.
John Simpson at left guard, Joe Tippmann at center, Elijah Vera Tucker, and Morgan Moses.
Right.
So let's say in this hypothetical scenario, Bakhtiari's added or another left tackle.
Yep.
David Bakhtiari's dealt with a lot of injuries over the past 3 years.
He has.
He's played in 13 out of a possible 51 games from 2021 to 2023. So for me, knowing what had happened to this Jets offensive line, not only this past year, but the year before, you want insurance.
You do.
So if I'm on the clock, and I'm not Joe Douglas, but if I'm on the clock and you sign Bakhtiari and Johnny Jimenez's scenario and Olu Fashanu, Talisa Fuaga, somebody's available, whether it's a tackle that we've talked about or somebody else. However, Joe Douglas has who?
Are you taking them?
I'm taking them.
Really?
I understand that you're like, well, maybe that's a luxury pick at that point.
Yeah.
You got to brace for, granted, look, if Rome Odunze's on the board or Malik Neighbors and it's...
Does that change it?
Yes, it does. But to me, when you take a look at what happened, again, you just want to make sure you're in a good spot if crap hits the fan.
Right, which with the offensive line, the Jets have really struggled with keeping that line healthy and stable and not moving pieces around. And we've talked about it before. We'll say it again. AVT is going to stay in one spot this year. So you don't have that luxury of kind of throwing him here or there, wherever. So it's really about finding the best 5, as they always say, and putting them out on the field and keeping them healthy and keeping them on the field.
Look, but I understand it's not the sexiest topic to talk about the big uglies. The people want the wide receiver
Of course
talk.
they do.
Okay, let's go back to the wide receiver.
That's the hot topic. That's the hot topic.
Omar Hernandez. Well, we'll go to Rich. Rich, I don't want to, hold on. Give me a moment to try to pronounce this. Dubois? Rich Dubois.
Bo is the name of my dog, Rich.
Yeah.
He's very sweet.
I don't know if Rich is sweet, but Rich...
He was just yelling at us.
Can you put that back up so we can see it? Oh, well, Omar says, what about OBJ? Rich says, why are we not talking about Cory Davis? Bring him back. Look, well, first...
We did have a comment about Cory Davis being a possible wide receiver 2 or 3.
And we did talk about Cory Davis, Rich, okay?
Yeah.
But we'll do it again just for you.
Rich.
And we'll talk about OBJ, Omar. We got you. So with Cory Davis, I understand it's like, it's a hot button topic because a lot of Jets fans, like the Jets had the rights to Cory Davis if he were to reinstate in the NFL. He did reinstate, reportedly, and now the Jets are releasing him because they're going to have to release him, let him be a free agent. Whether the Jets sign him to a new contract, that's what Field Yates was saying. Like, it is possible.
Yeah.
Now, as a wide receiver 2-3, this is the state of the Jets receiver room right now. There's Garrett Wilson, bona fide star. With Aaron Rodgers in the lineup, you'd imagine his numbers, which have been over 1,000 yards each of the past 2 years, with multiple quarterbacks each year, you'd imagine those numbers are going to skyrocket.
Of course.
I know what happened in the preseason against the Giants. Everyone was losing their mind. Maybe me a little bit too. Fantasy owners were freaking out.
Of course.
I understand how the potential between those two guys looks. One was wearing 17. A lot of people saying, I've seen this 12 to 17 connection.
I've seen this film before.
Yes, I've seen this movie. You know that you like the movie. Again, Garrett Wilson also hinted at a number jersey change, so maybe instead of like 12 to 17, now it's like 8 to 5.
Right.
So, but
Single
here's the
digits
thing.
only.
Single digits only. Cory Davis, for me, you add him to a room that has Garrett, Allen Lazard, and then in year 2, Xavier Gibson, Jason
coming into
Brownlee.
his
Like
own.
that's a nice looking receiver room.
It is.
And again, if that were to happen before the draft, if he were to become a Jet again, which is a big if, that's a good-looking room. That provides flexibility in the draft, which is what you want. Because then at Joe Douglas at 10 can say, we're going to take tackle, we're going to take receiver, we're going to maybe. Some people have been clamoring for Brock Bowers to become a New York Jet.
There has been a lot of talk about
Polarizing topic.
Very, very, very polarizing topic. But, you know, there's a comment from Jack Stallo here. After the trade for Morgan Moses, would y'all be open to dealing yet another pick or two or pick swap to get a veteran receiver like Allen or Sutton or even Slayton or Gallup?
Okay. I'm going to play fill in the blank here. And as we talk about this, the trade becomes official for Morgan Moses between the New York Jets and the Baltimore Ravens. Just keep this up for a minute. So the Jets gave up Morgan Moses and the Denver Broncos 4th-round pick, which the Jets actually received last season.
The Jets received. The Jets received, yes.
The Jets received their pick that they traded to Baltimore from Denver last season for Jacob Martin. They used Denver's 4th-round pick to acquire Morgan Moses in a pick swap. So the Jets still have 2 4th-round picks. They have their own, and they have the Baltimore Ravens' 4th-round pick, and the Ravens also get a 6th-round pick, which is a compensatory selection.
Right.
So this is why Joe Douglas takes, it's ironic that this is a trade with the Ravens, the Ozzie Newsome way of general managing. You use compensatory selections. You let some guys go. You don't make a ton of moves in free agency. You get some picks. You swap them for veteran players, which leads us to Jack's question.
Right.
How would you be open to dealing a pick or two to get a veteran receiver like Allen or Sutton, even Slayton or Gallup? To play fill in the blank, I believe this is Keenan Allen or Cortland Sutton. I think you're talking about Darius Slayton over in New York and Michael Gallup with the Dallas Cowboys.
I think you did a great job filling in the blank.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Mind reader. So I think the first two guys, Allen and Sutton, would cost more in terms of draft capital compared to Darius Slayton or Michael Gallup, just based on production alone. I think if you're a Jets fan, you would absolutely welcome Keenan Allen or Cortland Sutton.
100%.
But at what price? Again, the Jets restructured with C.J. Mosley.
Right, yep. That's a big point to bring up.
Yeah, freed up a little bit of room there. We don't know what that's for. Like, the Jets have to pay about $9-10 million for their draft class alone.
Right.
So the Jets have some money that they didn't have yesterday, but they still have to figure out exactly how to pay out who they're going to sign throughout the rest of free agency. And then they also have to figure out how that factors in with the draft class and undrafted free agents and whatnot. But Keenan Allen is an older player, but he's fantastic at separating. I mean, whatever team Keenan Allen's on, he's going to be a great player.
Right.
Someone could give me the 2023 stat line from Keenan Allen. I think they'd be very impressed. Cortland Sutton found the end zone 10 times last year. I think with the other two guys, Slayton or Gallup, those guys have been productive in each of their respective offenses and respective teams. I just think that you're looking at more of a flyer than anything. I think the first two are more of a sure thing, and Slayton or Gallup are more flyers.
What do you mean?
Like, in terms of those last two, you probably have to give up less capital. You're not expecting the same amount of production when they're Jets. Now, Michael Gallup had a year of 800 receiving yards. He's shown for the Dallas Cowboys that he's very good, right? So, and Darius Slayton, same thing with the Giants. I just don't know in the eyes of the Jets or in the eyes of the NFL, like, are those guys bona fide starters? Allen and Sutton, bona fide starters.
Yep.
That's all I meant by that.
Jack actually responded to you. You hit on all the names, Ethan. Sorry I couldn't fill in more characters, but he appreciates the answer.
I appreciate
Great
you, Jack.
mind reader. He's a really great mind reader.
you.
That's something you should know about Ethan. I will say, I just saw something come in from Johnny. Bring in Boyd or Williams. Boyd has been a monster playing behind Chase and Higgins. Huge upside.
Yeah.
That's correct. He has been a monster.
And he was really good before Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins got there. What's
Right.
crazy is that, like, the production is still there. I know that I was going back and forth with it was similar to like a Vin Diesel name, but it was Dom VR, something like that. I hope you're watching, and I hope I didn't just butcher that. But basically, Tyler Boyd is a big slot. He's 6'2", maybe 6'3", and he primarily plays in the slot. And with a guy like that, he's consistent. And there was a report out there that said that the Steelers are in the mix to sign Tyler Boyd. Sign Tyler Boyd. I'm getting excited. I got to take a breather again. So the Steelers are in the mix. They mentioned the Chiefs, this same report, and mentioned the Jets as a dark horse. Now, we've talked about it. Joe Douglas is going to add a receiver at some point in the offseason, whether that's free agency, the draft, undrafted free agent trade, or all of the above. We don't know.
Right.
But the receiver market definitely, I think, has been affected by the draft market because the draft has been the class is so deep that teams don't necessarily, I would imagine, feel the need to overpay for receivers. Now, granted, there's some big contracts out there. Gabe Davis got almost $40 million from the Jaguars. Calvin Ridley got a nice chunk of change with the Tennessee Titans. So I think that of the remaining receivers available, I think that any one of these guys would make sense for the Jets. And one guy we didn't touch on, which we brought up, and I told you we would, so I apologize, OBJ.
Oh, yeah. OBJ.
He was almost a Jet last year, it felt like.
He was. So do you think that that's like a real possibility that he would maybe look at New York again?
I mean, why not? He's played here before, like in terms of the New York market. And if you were attracted to the Jets last year, not much has changed.
No.
You know, like Aaron Rodgers is still the quarterback. Still a great defense. I understand no two teams will look the same, but if you're Odell and you want to play for the Jets last year, I don't understand why you wouldn't want to play this year. And granted, I'm not saying that Odell today is the player he was when he was a New York Giant.
Right.
It was a long time ago. But the Jets, one, like from a numbers perspective, just need bodies.
Right.
So I think it makes sense, and I wouldn't rule it out. And I wouldn't rule out any wide receivers. Like I see Cameron Peterson.
I was just about to bring
trading
that
for
up.
Devontae. That's
You're not going to rule that out?
No.
Even though that the Raiders said.
Kevin Garnett, anything's possible.
Anything's possible. Okay, fine.
I mean, first of all, if you're a Jets fan, you believe a little in conspiracy theories, I think.
Yeah.
If you're like in a Jets Twitter sphere, Jets YouTube sphere, there's a little bit of conspiracy going on.
I mean, the Jets Twitter is a true investigation team. They will figure something is going on before it is even going on. Like, let's just think about Rodgers last year. They were all over that. They were tracking flight plans. It was crazy.
It's awesome.
It's a beautiful thing. There's nothing like it.
A band of brothers.
Yeah, for sure.
And with Devontae, I know that there are some people watching this show that are like, it makes too much sense that Garrett or Thomas Morstead tweeted a photo that said passing down the torch, 17-5. Jets are getting new uniforms. Garrett Wilson sure seems like he's getting a new number, which he wore at Ohio State, which frees up 17.
You know who wears 17?
I think I know a guy. Well, the problem is he's under contract with the Raiders.
Correct.
So do I think it's possible? Yes. But I'm not going to, if I'm a betting man, which I'm not, because I'm awful at anything betting, and it is illegal.
Yes, it
or
is.
as NFL employees.
It is.
I wouldn't bet on it. You know, like I wouldn't get my hopes very high.
I just don't think that the Raiders, they seem to be building something over there, especially with like the addition of Christian Wilkins and all of the assets that they've been getting through free agency. And so I think that they're not going to let go one of these massive weapons at wide receiver. They're just that would have to have a big thing on the table for them to do that, in my mind.
You want to know why I'm smiling like this? You know,
Please.
like, yo, bro, who's got you?
Who's got you smiling like that?
This comment that EA sent to us, Dan Philcox says, let's give a shout out to Boy Green, who's losing his gosh darn bananas. Cory Davis coming back. Oh, my God.
That's a perfect
Okay,
one.
well, first of all, if you don't know, that's from Die Hards, the 1JD series. And Paul Boy Green Esden Jr. tweets that clip. Oh, I'm going to lose my gosh darn bananas. That's a fantastic pull. And I just want to say right under that, Big Frank 2005, OBJ is washed. Come on, Ethan. I understand the numbers aren't what they were. Look, again, the Jets need bodies. I'm not saying first of all, we're not paying the guy. It's not your money.
Yeah.
If he's a Jet, why do you care?
Exactly.
Look,
Come on now.
The Jets need bodies, right? If it's OBJ, if it's Michael Thomas, who I bet Big Frank 2005 is also probably yelling, saying, Ethan, that is, if OBJ's washed and
He's going to get mad at you. He's going to get mad at you.
You can get mad at me. That's fine. I'm just saying the Jets need numbers at wide receiver, whether that's someone like Cory Davis, to Michael Thomas, to OBJ, to a trade like we just talked about, to somebody or two in the draft. Jets need bodies. I just would think that that's going to happen.
Yeah, I do. But you know what's going to help those bodies and getting those bodies is Cory Davis, CJ Mosley and his restructure. Can we pull up that tweet? Because that happened earlier this morning. And Field Yates tweeted out the Jets and CJ Mosley have agreed to a 2-year, $17.25 deal with $13.25 guaranteed, replacing the final year of his old deal that had no leftover guarantees. So the deal included $9 million fully guaranteed in 2024. So that helped free up a lot of space for the Jets to make a lot of the moves today and
and
for the rest of free agency.
Right, exactly. It frees up moves. This is I wouldn't put it out of the question if there's more of this type of stuff that Joe Douglas has. Restructuring or anything, because so much happens in a cap space. Look at the Chargers alone. Yesterday, everyone's like, look at what happens in Los Angeles. They have decisions to make between Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Joey Bosa, and Khalil Mack. They cut Mike Williams. Mack and Bosa restructure. They remain in Los Angeles. Nothing on Keenan Allen yet. I'm just saying, like, the Jets are not in the cap situation that LA is in. But there are moves that could be made, like, I don't know. Again, this is part of the conspiracy. Like, DJ Reed was tweeting chestnut checkers with a bag emoji. Is that in relation to him? Is it in relation to what's going on in terms of the free agency pool? That's what we don't know.
We need Jets Twitter to find out. Can you guys start investigating for us again, because you're pretty good at it? I would say though, it's all in play, right? It's still all in play. We got to figure that out. But what about some of the newer faces?
Well, I just want to say this.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is a great comment from Snowball, which is an interesting YouTube name. Ethan, Caroline, get your rain gear. We're about to make a big splash.
Snowball, you can't bring up rain gear. There were so many rain games last year.
Whoa, look at that thumbnail. That's an angry snowman.
It's an angry snowball.
No, I see.
I know it's a snowman, but
it is an angry snowball. Must be a South Pole snowball.
That was nice.
Thank you.
Nice.
That's an elf reference for anyone watching and didn't get that.
But you can't talk about rain yet. There were so many rain games last year that I came back absolutely drenched, and it's still a little PTSD.
Don't you put that on us, Ricky Bobby.
Don't.
Look, there was a lot of rain.
Yeah.
And I will say the official team rain gear is quite nice.
It is. It does keep you dry.
If you wear it.
Okay, let's not point fingers.
If you wear it.
Anyways, we're going to move on. What about some of the newer names that we're looking at on the roster? We got the chance to talk to some of those guys. What do you think of them?
Well, can I start with the guy we didn't talk to yet?
Sure. Yeah.
Because I don't think we've really focused on his re-signings. Thomas Morstead. I mean, we talked about, EA and I broke down Greg Zuerlein, but Thomas Morstead's a stud. I mean,
absolute stud.
Like, he won the Jets games last year. The Giants game alone was incredible.
Yep.
Like, again, I think this would be my 9th season, so that was my 8th. I've never seen a punting performance like that where you're able to just pin the opponent within the 5-yard line 3 separate times.
3 separate times. I know, so sweet. He's got such a sweet family, and having them back this year is going to be such a nice treat for us.
And 2 more years too, like him and Zuerlein.
Yep.
I feel like
you need to keep them together.
Yeah, of course. And Thomas Hennessy's obviously going to be back. The one guy that we don't know if he'll be back in terms of the core special teamers is Justin Hardy, who actually someone just asked about that. Haskell420 said Justin Hardy with 1, 2, 3, 4 exclamation
Four,
points.
yep.
Or, excuse me, question marks.
Yeah.
I just call that an exclamation
You
point.
did.
That was terrible.
It was terrible.
That was so bad.
That was terrible.
Look, that is the question. So I think that with Zerline and Morstead back in place, the Jets special teams are in a great spot.
Huge.
This was like, it would have sent Jets Twitter into an uproar if Thomas Morstead did not return. It's great to see him back. So I think that was a big move for the Jets. Morgan Moses, we didn't really talk about it. This is also a huge move, no pun intended, for the Jets. Familiar face, didn't give up a whole lot of capital to get him like we talked about. Can we just play the Morgan Moses tweet?
Please.
The Joe Blewett clip?
Please.
Which is also the same last name as Chris Blewett, which is the NFL kicker, which is the worst name to have as a kicker.
Tough.
But, well, okay, so take a look at Morgan Moses, who, thank you, Joe, for highlighting him.
Boom.
I mean, good night.
Yep.
Good night. Let's run that back.
Yep.
That's right between Buenos and Noches. Look, I just think that this is a great move for the Jets. Now they have
Look at how agile he is. He's a big dude.
You want to talk about big dudes who can move? Well,
yeah, I do.
We'll get to it in a minute.
Okay.
That's a teaser for you. But this Jets offensive line now with Morgan Moses and John Simpson, those are tone setters.
And they played together last year, so they have that chemistry, which is really nice.
Yes.
That's like a nice little addition.
Yeah, and the Jets, they had a lot of holes to fill up front just by a numbers perspective alone.
Completely.
To have guys who have played together before is big.
Huge.
So, like, even AVT and Morgan Moses have played together before. Granted, we don't know where AVT's playing, whether that's right guard and left tackle. Those are the open, quote-unquote, positions. I think most people believe it's right guard. So in 2021, when Morgan Moses was here, AVT was playing left guard. So now Moses and AVT playing next to each other. I'd actually be interested to hear what Moses thought about AVT as a rookie, and then after practicing with him a couple times, seeing the differences as like a season.
Yeah, I'm excited to see them kind of reunite because he was telling me earlier that he talked to AVT. He was really excited to see him again, but he is even more excited because he's got 11 years in the NFL and having all of that experience. Why are you laughing at me?
Zaduggy.
Zaduggy.
I'm so sorry. I mean, this is just an all-time.
Y'all are actually reading comments. I thought this was pre-recorded.
It's not.
Zaduggy, it's not. Really cute dog. Really cute dog.
Can we get a name check on Zaduggy?
Yeah, Zaduggy. That's why we were saying, if you have comments, if you have questions, put them in the chat. We're going to read them.
Yeah, and please let us know the name of your dog. And if your dog's name is Zaduggy, I will lose it. I will lose it. Zaduggy. Anyway, can we just go back to the offensive line for a minute? Because I'm going way off.
Of course you are.
Like the hype train is off the tracks.
You distracted him, Z-Doggy.
The hype train, I think, was going off the tracks with Cory Davis.
Yep.
I'm off the tracks.
Yeah.
Just parallel to
Well, let me bring you back because I was talking about Morgan Moses and how he was telling me 11 years in the NFL. He's excited to come back because he's played a bunch of different schemes. He's played this scheme before. He knows what to expect. So having all of that prior experience with the Jets is only going to add to what he's already bringing to the table from Baltimore.
And not to mention he's now blocking for Breece Hall, who he did not play with in 2021.
Correct, which I will love to see that.
Yeah, and the Jets have attitude up front, right? Like, you'd imagine Joe Tippmann's going to be a better player in year 2 compared to year 1 just by sheer, well, he actually told me at the end of the year, I'm like, what are you most excited about, like the offseason? He's like, to work out properly. I was like, what do you mean by that? He goes, well, in college, you declare for the draft, you train for the combine, you train for your pro day. It's like very specific training. He's like, I just want to pick stuff up and put it down. I want to train. I want to get stronger. Now that he'll be able to do that, you're looking at an offensive line that has power, agility, flexibility in terms of position. And with the additions of Moses and Simpson, not only do you have a lot of playoff experience, those two guys blocked for Lamar Jackson, the NFL's MVP this past year. The Jets are sitting pretty nice, I think.
Okay, so they blocked for Lamar Jackson, right? Lamar Jackson can run. He's got wheels. You know what Jack Stoller just said? One thing I love is Breece being unable to contain his love for all the offensive line moves. He's just giddy and honestly same. I am honestly giddy as well, Jack. But just picture this.
Do you think Jack is in the thumbnail or like Jack's son is in the thumbnail?
Maybe it's Jack's son.
Is Jack... Well, Breece Hall, my day was made. Of course it was. That's in relation to Morgan Moses.
Picture this.
Keep Jack's picture up there while Caroline says this.
Picture this. The line is doing their thing. Morgan Moses, John Simpson, AVT, they're all doing their thing. The hole becomes apparent. Breece Hall, boom, he's gone. Before you can even blink twice, and then there's a touchdown.
I said this to Ye on the official Jets podcast, which actually includes an interview with Tyrod Taylor or Tyrod Taylor, depending how you want to pronounce it. Check that out. Like, you give Breece a sliver, he gets 4 yards. You give him a hole.
See ya.
And he's really, really strong, like sneaky strong. I know
and
that.
He's so
you know
fast.
That. Not sneaky to us, sneaky to guys who have never played him before.
Right.
Put that picture up of Jack Stollow. I want to say one thing. I don't know if that's Jack or if that's little Jack in the thumbnail, but someone's on the phone. Maybe someone's trying to, make a trade.
Oh, making some calls.
Yeah, to someone who wears 17. Maybe he's on the phone with Cory Davis saying, like, hey, I know that the Jets are releasing you.
Hey.
What are the percentages of, by the way, you're doing this. I appreciate that. Isn't it you that told me that, like, kids these days?
Oh, yeah, they go like this because of iPhones.
That's
all my
and
nephews.
Androids, come on.
Sorry, and Androids. All my nephews do this.
That's
terrible. Terrible.
That is terrible. Hold on, I saw one. Yeah, Jimenez. Put that up there. Happy birthday. Says, can we get a big happy birthday for our own Jet fan, Mr. Bonesy?
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Broham, Mr. Bonesy.
Oh, wow. I love birthdays. Happy birthday.
When I hear of Bonesy, Mr. Bonesy, I think of Derek Jones, who was a Jet, because they called him Bones Jones. And also because of John Bones Jones, the fighter.
Yep.
So to me, Bonesy, Mr. Bonesy, that's who I think of. That's probably not who he's referring to. But happy birthday. It's a great day to have a great day. It's like 70 degrees outside. Jets made a couple moves, now official. So I think it's an exciting time to be a Jets fan.
It's always an exciting time to be a Jets fan. But let's talk about another comment from Charlie Perkins. The Jets still need another tackle for the O-line. Should they get one more via free agency before, or I think he's saying they should get one more.
Like definitive.
Yeah, like period. It's a sentence. Should get one more via free agency before the draft. Ooh, that's a interesting.
I don't know what that is. That looks like it's
I think that's Paw Patrol.
That's what to me, it's like Paw Patrol meets Transformers.
Yeah, but that is Paw Patrol.
Okay. I have not seen Paw Patrol. I don't have nephews or nieces, so
you should.
I should watch Paw Patrol, period?
You should do some homework.
Well, okay, so should get one more before free agency or via free agency before the draft. I think it's probably likely.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm not putting my money on it, but I do think that Joe Douglas, even if the Jets' offensive line was perfect in Joe Douglas's eyes, which it would never be perfect if you're a football coach, if you're a football personnel guy, it would never be perfect in your eyes.
No.
But I think that Joe Douglas will continue to add offensive linemen throughout the entirety of the offseason. Whether that's free agency, that's what we're in now. I do think that will happen, regardless. Whether that's someone who's a tackle and would start, or whether that's somebody who would be a backup and be a lineman that, like, either it's a swing tackle or an interior swing guy. Like, the Jets have Wes Schweitzer under contract. They signed him last year. That's an interior reserve player, but he has a lot of starting experience, so he could start. I just think that even though a lot of fans were antsy, right? Like, negotiating windows, like, where are the moves?
Yeah.
Where's the Batman? Like, relax.
Where's the Batman?
Jack says, I'm 21 and
childless.
That was actually me working on trades back in 05.
Respected.
Yeah,
Jack.
what kind of trades we talking about?
Yeah, can you be a little more specific?
I once sent you this. I can't believe I'm about to admit this. I once sent NFL GM a letter when I was like 5, like with a trade proposal. Didn't hear back.
Tough.
I know.
Did that one crush you?
No, it was a good trade. Just never happened. It worked.
Still believe it was a good trade.
It was a good trade in Madden.
Okay, moving on.
I actually didn't do it in Madden, but I thought it was a good idea at the time. Maybe my handwriting was so illegible.
It is pretty bad.
And also, fun fact, my grandmother applied to be a head coach in the NFL.
No way.
Yeah, she actually wrote a letter to
Grandma.
Reed Eubank, who's in the Jets Ring of Honor.
Amazing.
When he was retiring, like, please consider me. Like, I have to find it, but it's like, please consider me to be the Jets' next head coach.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. Power move.
She knew a thing or two.
We were earlier talking about big guys that move really fast, and you said that was a teaser for something.
Thank you for bringing this up.
So I want to go back to that because we got to talk to some of those big guys who move really fast, one of them being Lecky Fotu. Lecky Fotu. Oh,
Lecky, but it looks like Lecky.
Lecky.
He's
no,
a
it's
former
Lecky.
rugby player, and we actually have a little clip of it.
A little clip.
Just look at this guy. He's the guy with the long. I mean, you can't miss him. No one who is he's not 330 in that clip. No one who is that big should be able to move that fast.
He's just barreling people down like it's easy.
If that guy's running at me, I'm running for my life.
I'm running away. I'm actually running the opposite way.
This is actually incredible because you put pads on and you look big. He's huge. He's huge. Look at the wheels on this guy.
He's
You're
a
not
monster.
supposed to be able to do that. That guy had to tackle him by his legs.
Yep.
Probably because Lecky got gashed at the end of that run.
Yeah. So he's a new addition to the Jets' defensive line.
That's why he's so nimble as a player. Yeah, Dakota,
we feel that.
Holy crapola. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Imagine that coming barreling down at a quarterback.
We
that
love
is
our big boys
scary.
in New York. Yes, we do.
That we do, Zach. That
play the other clip of Lecky at Utah where watch him over the center. Oh, there he is. Boom. In the backfield.
Done.
This, he said in an interview, was his favorite play from college. We'll play it again. Lecky for RB. They had a little goal line package. Love that idea. Instead of the fridge, like in Chicago, we're going to have to think of a nickname there.
Yeah. Jets fans can think on that one because we have plenty of time until our first game. But
keep this rolling, though. Like, again, you don't really see him when he lines up because the quarterback's in the way. And then all of a sudden.
Comes out of nowhere. Boom. See ya.
Yeah, that's incredible movement.
Ball goes flying.
Guy. And you put him in a defense like this that attacks upfield, rushes upfield, like that's scary. I don't think he really I spoke to him. He's like, he doesn't necessarily have that opportunity in Arizona to just rush the passer like that. And again, guys like Solomon Thomas, Quentin Jefferson, who reportedly signed with the Browns, like those guys didn't have the career numbers in sacks in a single season until last year. They each had a career high. You put a guy like Lecky in the system, even like Javon Kinlaw, I'm really excited to see what those dudes can do because they have the athleticism to be dominant. Now you just have to trust this defensive staff, and I think they've earned that trust.
But even Morgan Moses was saying in 2022 when the Ravens were playing the Jets, they went and he was like, guys, I don't think you understand what we're getting ourselves into. Like, they come off the ball so fast. Like, just be prepared. And he was like, we struggled with it for the first little bit because we couldn't adjust that quickly because they're just that fast and that dominant off the ball.
Can I shout out another comment? There's a couple of them.
Please.
One I want to bring up and then I want to circle back on to allow myself to think.
Okay.
I think it's a Sovacito name. By the way, this is the new Jets draft capital.
No, I think that's the name, and then they're saying name a wide receiver.
I know, but how do you say it? Sovacito?
Yeah.
Okay, so Sovacito says name a wide receiver that could be available for trade that hasn't been named yet. I'll get back to you on that. Let's go to Michael Dunn underneath that. Under the radar offensive tackle I would look at if I'm the Jets is Josh Jones. Now, that's an interesting name because Josh Jones was an intriguing college prospect, and I believe he played at Houston. And then I think he actually played for the Houston Texans a little bit and the Cardinals. But he has left tackle, right tackle versatility. So you know that's appealing to every team, specifically the Jets. Like the Jets like players who can be versatile. Josh Jones, I don't know how many games he started off the top of my head, but I do know that Josh Jones is an intriguing player. And so I think that he'd be someone that if you sign him, you're like, okay, you feel good about it. You still want to keep adding to it unless the Jets really feel like they're going to rely on their scouting reports from when he was drafted.
Yeah, I like that. I don't know how many games if the back wants to let us know how many games he started, or you're going to look that up right now. Meanwhile, I'm just going to pause really quickly. The Jaguars are giving Jaguars. Sorry, I don't know why I said it like that. The Jaguars are giving former 49ers Armstead a 3-year, $51 million deal. So
that's another former San Francisco 49er. I think a lot of fans, when they saw Eric Armstead was released, are like, guy might be a Jet because he's a fantastic, everything that you see about the 49ers and Eric Armstead, he's a fantastic human, first of all. He's a great player. He's been a great 49er. Now he's a Jaguar, you're saying?
Yep.
It makes sense. I mean, they cut Foley Fatukasi, who's now former Jet with the Houston Texans, so they needed a body up front there. And I just think that it makes sense. And the Jaguars have been sneaky making some moves. Like they signed Gabe Davis. Now they're signing Eric Armstead. So I think that's going to be something that you got to keep an eye on. Josh Jones, 47 games with Arizona, 13 with Houston. He's been in the league 4 years. Like it makes sense.
Yeah.
In terms of he started 24 out of the 60 games he's played in, so experience, but not. I think Houston traded for him as an insurance policy last year, so I think it could make sense for the Jets. I don't think that would necessarily mean Joe Douglas would be done adding or drafting at that position.
Yeah, I agree. But that's a good name to bring up. Now, I am going to bring up one last thing before we sign up or sign off. Jersey Shore. For all those Jersey Shore fans out there tonight, they actually went to a Jets game last year.
You interviewed them. That was big.
I did interview them, and it was really just a childhood dream talking to Snooki and JWoww. But it did rain at that game as well.
Is that really a childhood dream?
Yeah. I watched that show all the time, but like while my parents weren't home because that was not allowed. But it was raining that game, so if you see me on the sideline, I was probably not looking that happy. But that episode is tonight at 8 p.m. on MTV, so... Are you going to watch it so that you can see
admittedly, this
me?
means nothing to me, but if you're a Jersey Shore fan, are you going to watch it?
I think I am.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you going to hit the Snooki shop before?
No,
Is that in Madison?
Yeah, it is in Madison, so I might have to. But no, I'm going to watch it so that I can watch the part where they're at the games to see if we can see any of like our coworkers.
Wait a minute. You want to watch to see if you're in it?
For sure.
Oh my God.
Duh.
You're watching this show to see if you make a cameo.
Well, I have been watching this show regardless, but I'm going to watch it to see if I make a cameo. For sure. I have no shame in that.
I have nothing to add other than something on Jets football, which is if you're a Jets fan, just stay locked and loaded because you never know what's going to happen. The Cory Davis news was like fun to talk about. Again, he is not a Jet or is reportedly going to be released.
He's going to be a free agent.
Doesn't mean that he's not coming back. Just pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah. Just let's bide our time a little bit. But that's all we got for today. Make sure you guys are staying up to date with our Twitter page and our website homepage. I don't know why I just struggled to say that. Yeah, YouTube. But we're going to be going live again when anything kind of breaks or there's exciting news on the Jets front. So stick around and we'll see you guys soon.